checking out my latest video. So I have an Etsy shop. It's called Almost Surfside, and I sell handmade beach and surf inspired jewelry. So if you're interested in that type of jewelry, please check out my website. I'll include a link down below. And thanks everyone for subscribing. If you haven't already done so, please take a minute to do that. It really makes a difference in terms of helping me grow the channel and sharing new content with you guys. Okay, so last week what we worked on was the first part of a bracelet set. So if you haven't checked out that video, you should go back to the previous video, click on it, and you'll see that we went over this style of bracelet. And this week what we're going to do is the second bracelet in that set. So it's kind of, I don't know, I guess you would call it like a modern bow. It has, you know, pointed ends, a square in the middle, and I just think it's very contemporary, very elegant. I don't know if you would call it beachwear, but I just thought it went really well with the first bracelet that I did. So I'm using a lot of the same materials. I'm using, you know, the pink bugle beads, 7mm or number 3. And I'm using the smaller bugle beads, which are number 2 or 5mm. So a lot of the same materials in both, and I think they work well as a set. Okay, so before we get started on the second bracelet of the set, I just wanted to point out one of the features of this bow shape. So you'll notice that in the center I have a square. And what I've done is I've included 3 small bugle beads in between, you know, the 2 ends of the square. So it's slightly raised. It might not sit perfectly flush depending on the type of bugle that you have and, you know, whether or not the sizes are consistent. I personally like that design feature, but if you're looking for a more even shape, what you might have to do is create more of a rectangle rather than a square. Okay, so again, a little bit raised. I don't know if you can see on the side there. So they might not sit, you know, perfectly side by side, but again, I like that feature. So I just thought I would point it out before we get started. Okay, so what you'll need for this project in terms of materials are fireline. I'm using 0.006 or 6-pound fireline. You can also use wildfire or nylon thread. You'll also need Toho seed beads in 2 different sizes. So I have 11/0 in galvanized silver, 15/0 in galvanized silver. And again, I'll be using the bugle beads that we used last week. So these are number 3s, and they're about 7mm. And these are number 2s, which are about 5mm. Or if you decide to use Miyuki, you'll be using 3 and 6mm beads. Okay. You'll also need 2 jump rings and a lobster claw for the closure. Okay, so I have my beading needle and I have my fire line already cut. I have about an arm's length worth of thread. And I'm going to start off the bow shape by picking up 2 of the number 3 bugle beads, 1 of the number 2 bugle beads, and 2 of the number 3 bugle beads. I always leave about 10 inches from the base of my thread just so that I can finish it off later on. Okay, so I'll push them up about there. And what you're going to do is insert your needle into the very last bugle bead, pull on your thread. So that's the bow shape right there. Okay, one side of the bow. And I'm coming out of, let's see, I'm coming out up here. So what I'm going to do is pick up a 15/0 silver bead, and I'm going to insert it into the next bugle bead right below. Okay, I'm not going to insert anything here. I'm just going to put my needle through the base of that bow shape. I'm going to go up through the other bugle. I'm going to insert another 15/0 bugle and on this side, on the right side. Okay, and now that I'm at the top of my bow, I'm going to pick up an 11/0 and I'm going to insert it. Okay, so that's what you should have so far. I'm going to put my needle into the bead on the right and the bead at the base of the bow. Okay, and then I'm ready to create the square shape, which is the connector component. So to create the square, I'm going to pick up a total of 3 number 2 bugle beads in silver. Okay, and then just to make sure that shape holds, I'm going to pick up 11/0 seed beads and insert them into the corners. Okay, so I'm just going around the square shape, inserting 11/0 seed beads so that the corners are more defined. Okay, so I'm coming out of the bottom of the square shape, okay, on the left-hand side. And to finish the connector, I'm going to pick up one of the number 2 bugle beads, and I'm going to go down the opposite side of that bugle that I'm coming out of. Okay, so it should sit just on the inside. Okay, I'm going to pick up another number 2 bugle bead and I'm going to go through the opposite side of the one that I just added on. I'm going to go down. When I get to the bottom, I'm going to pick up another number 2 bugle bead, go through the opposite side. Okay, so this is just creating like a ladder stitch. And pull on my thread. Go through the one that I just added. Okay. And then I'm going to go through the top part of the bugle bead that's on the outside of the square. Okay, so that's what you should have. If you want to go through and reinforce that, take the time to do that. It'll just help it sit, more evenly in the square component. But I'm going to continue on with the other part of the bow. So I'll pick up a total of 4 of the number 3 bugle beads. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Push them down on my thread. Okay, go through the opposite side of the bugle bead on the outside of the square. Okay, so that creates the bow shape on the other side. I'm going to go through the first bugle bead, pull in my needle, insert a 15/0 seed bead, okay, at the top I'm going to put an 11/0 seed bead, and then on the other side I'm going to do a 15/0 seed bead. Okay, so now I'm back at the bottom of my bow shape, and I'm going to go through the small number 2 bugle. And then I'm just going to climb back up to the top of my bow shape by going through the bugle on the right, and then the top bugle on the right. Okay, so that's the first part of your bracelet. I'm going to do a connector right now by going through the 11/0 seed bead. I'm going to pick up another 3 11/0 seed beads. Go through the opposite side with your needle. Pull on your thread. Okay, again, you're going to want to reinforce this by going through all of the beads that you just added on. Step up through the bead on the top. Okay, now that we've finished the connector, I'm coming out of the bottom here, and I'm going to pick up 2 of the number 3s. One of the number 2s, and again 2 of the number 3s. I'm going to go through the opposite side of the top bead in the connector. Pull my needle. Okay, so that's what gives you the other bow shape. I'm going to go through the bugle bead on the right, insert a 15/0, okay, go through the bottom bugle bead, going up on the right side. When I reach this point, I'm going to pick up another 15/0, go through the top bugle bead and the 11/0 seed bead at the top. Pull on your thread. Okay, so that's the other bow shape at the top. You're going to want to reinforce this, but again, for the purpose of the video, I'm just trying to get you through, the basic steps here. So I'm not going to do that on camera, but the more you go through it with your thread, the stronger the shape will be. Okay, so I'm now coming out of the bugle bead here at the base, and I'm going to create a square. So to do that, I'm going to pick up a total of 3 number 2 bugles. And I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bugle there at the base. Okay, so that's what creates my square shape. To make it stronger, I'm going to insert an 11/0 seed bead in the corner. Okay, the corner of each side of the square. There you go, so that's one corner. Pick up another 11/0, go through the next corner. Okay, so that just gives the square more definition. Okay, see how that holds? The shape is a lot stronger once you insert those 11/0s on the outside. Okay, so I'm coming out the bottom on the left hand side of my square, and I'm going to pick up a number 2 bugle, the same size as what I have, and I'm going to go through the opposite side of that bugle bead. Pull tight, go up through the bottom of the bugle bead on the right. Okay, now I'm ready for a new bugle. I'm going to pick up another number 2. I'm going to go through the opposite side, so down here and up. Pull on my thread. It's important that you pull really tight, and if the bugles aren't sitting quite the way they should, then you're going to want to do that again. Okay, go down the next one. Pick up your number 2 bugle. Go through the opposite side. And pull on your thread. Okay. Go up the square bugle, so the one on the outside. Okay, and then I'm going to go back down the previous bugle and up again. That's just going to make it stronger, so it's not sitting as far apart. Okay, so there's your square component. Now I'm ready to do the other side of the bow. And to do that, I'm going to pick up a total of 4 of the number 3s. Okay, go through the opposite side in the bugle bead. I'm going to go through the first bugle on the right, pull on my thread, pick up a 15/0, insert my needle into the next bugle. Now that I've reached the top of the bow shape, I'm going to pick up an 11/0, insert my needle into the opposite side. Okay, another 15/0, go down, okay, I'm going to go through the very bottom of that bow shape. And then go back up to the top of that bow. Okay, so that's what you should have. You should have, 2 full bows with the connector in between. And what I did for my bracelet was I did a total of 4 bows. Okay, I found that that was about the right length for my wrist. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how to finish it off. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I've finished my bracelet. I've done one side of the closure, so I've done a connector and then a loop at the end. and I'll show you how to do it on the opposite side here. So I'm coming out of the top of the bow in this 11/0 seed bead, and I'm going to pick up 3 of the 11/0s. I'm going to go through the opposite side, pull on my thread, and I'm going to step up through the bead on the right, the bead in the middle, okay, and then I'm going to pick up 5 of the 11/0 seed beads. I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bead at the very top, pull on my thread, okay, and you can reinforce that by going through all of the beads here. Okay, and that's it. So you're done. What you're going to do is put your needle back down through a couple of the seed beads on the left hand side. Okay, so now that I've finished the connector, I'm going to go through the right hand bugle bead. And I'm going to do a knot right here. So go on the inside of your bow, go through the loop, and pull on your thread really tight. Okay, so I have a knot there. And then I can even insert a knot at the bottom of the bow by going through the seed bead and the bugle bead, pulling on my thread, and doing another knot by going on the inside of the bow and go through the loop in the thread and pulling on my thread as tight as I can. Okay, once you're done that, take your scissors, cut off the excess thread. Okay, I have a pair of flat nose pliers right here, and I'm going to pick up one of my jump rings, insert it into the loop that we just created, close it, go to the opposite side, pick up another jump ring. This time you're going to attach a lobster claw and insert it into the loop, close it, and there you have it. Okay, so that's the finished bracelet, and just open up the lobster claw, insert the jump ring, and that's how it closes. Okay, so there you have it. That's the very modern and contemporary bow, and I think that the color scheme is very summertime, you know, the pastel pink and the cool silver. It really complements the first bracelet that we did in the last video, so I hope that you guys enjoyed making the set if you decided to go ahead and do that. And if not, I hope you enjoy wearing at least one of them. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope that you guys liked the video, and I hope that you'll subscribe, and I'll see you next time.